Hi and welcome to the third video in the series learning how to use CAD. Today we're still going to be working in DraftSight because we're not done with our 2D skills yet, and we're going to use things like stretch, scale, dimensions and a couple of other bits and pieces, but we'll just jump straight in. Right, so what we're going to do this time is we're going to look at mirror, scale and stretch, and we're also going to look at fillet and chamfer. And we're going to do some dimensions, but let's just start. And right, what do we need? We need some lines and circles, obviously. So let's draw some lines in, and let's draw some circles in. Let's draw. Oh, yeah, we could go for some 3-point arcs as well. They're kind of circles too. Right. So now we can move, copy, and rotate stuff. So we can move this to there, and we can copy it to there and to there. Okay, right, I need ortho on, and I need to create some lines which are some lines which are 90 degrees to each other. We'll do that a couple of times. Right, okay, so we've got some stuff on the screen, and what I'm going to teach you first of all is the stretch command. So this is stretch here. It's underneath copy, move, rotate, and you hit stretch. So what does stretch do? It says select entities, as like most of the edit commands do. So what we're going to do is we have to use a crossing window for this. So it's got to be a green window. If it's a blue one, if you just click on something, it doesn't work. It has to be a crossing window. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the left hand side of these three lines. You'll see the turn. We hit enter. We pick it up from somewhere, specify from point. We're going to pick it up from there, and we're going to move to the left. And as you can see, it's actually moving the 3 points of the line. It's not moving the entire line, just the points in the line. Effectively, it's stretching the line longer. Let's do it with these horizontal and vertical lines, and you get the idea of the effect there. So we stretch just the end of this line. We want to pick it up here, and we want to move straight up. When you do it on a single line, it's absolutely no different to just hitting that blue point. But when you do it on multiple lines, like we can do over here, so let's do it again. Stretch those 2 lines from there, and we can move them up. And as you can see, everything moves with it. It's really good for like resizing rectangles and stuff. But that's the stretch command. There's nothing else that it does. It kind of moves the points at one end of a line. Can you stretch a circle? I very much doubt it, but let's try. I don't think we can stretch one side. No, we can't stretch a circle. Can you stretch the entire circle and effectively just move it? Yeah, you can just move. That's weird. But yeah, right, now if we look at the arc, let's stretch. That was the entire arc, so you can just move it. What about if we stretch 2 of the points in the arc? Yeah, we can do that. And what about just 1 point? Yeah, we can do that too. So it's pretty much the same as just clicking that point and moving the points. Right then, so that's stretch. What's next? Next is mirror. So I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to draw something very complicated. So you've spent 4 days coming up with this shape, and now you need to draw it again on the other side of it. But you don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to mirror. So we hit mirror, and we're going to group select all of this stuff. And now it says specify start point of mirror line. So if I just dump that in there and then go straight down, as you can see, it's going to give us a mirror. Didn't do anything. That's because it's now asking us a question. Do you want to delete the source? If we say no, we get 2. Right, what I'll do is I'll mirror that again. I'll mirror all of it, and I'll mirror it along the bottom here. And this time I'm going to say yes, I want to delete the source, and now we only get 1 copy. So mirror is a really handy way of duplicating something that you've already done, but flipping it over at the same time. There are other ways you can do things like that, but it's a bit weird. You can mirror on any angle as well. So if I turn ortho off, and we just choose, instead of going straight up or straight across, if we go like at an angle, as you can see, we get some kind of bizarre effect if you really needed to do that kind of thing. But that's mirror. That's what mirror does. Now, on the same kind of thing, if I draw a circle and a line, I know I haven't got ortho 1, and then I trim. I apologise, I was using the keyboard shortcuts. If I trim that out, right. Now I've just drawn this really bizarre shape, and it's the wrong size. It needs to be twice the size. So what I can do is I can go to scale, and it says specify entity, so I can select all these entities, and then it'll say specify base point. This means the center point where you want to scale it from. So let's roughly select the center of the circle, and then as you move the cursor out, as you can see, everything gets bigger. So if I said scale factor of 2, there we go. We've now got something twice the size. So that's scale. It also works the other way. Scale. If we scale and select that again, and then select roughly somewhere, and then do 0.25, that'll make it quarter scale. So it's like four times as small. Okay, yeah, that's a thing. Right. So there's scale and mirror and stretch. Nice and easy. Right, what I need to do now is we need to talk about snapping. Snapping? Yeah. Right, we're going to draw a line, and we're going to draw it to there, and we're going to draw it to there, and we're going to draw it to there. Right, now, if I highlight them 2 lines, this point on this line are effectively the same place. They're exactly the same place. If I was to draw a line and roughly click there, when we zoom in, you can see the line I've just drawn is not in the right place. It's not snapped to that line. And even if I move it in and zoom in a bit more, you can see it's never going to be in exactly the right place. So what we need to do is we need to start snapping. Now, down here, there's something called eSnap. I'm not talking about snap and grid. Don't use them. I'm talking about eSnap. So we turn eSnap on and nothing happens. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to right click eSnap, and we're going to say settings. And now we get this cool box with a lot of tick boxes in it. And it says enable entity snap. Yeah, that's what we want. And we've got a load of options turned on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them all off, apart from end and mid and center and quadrant. Okay? They're the only ones we're going to use for now. We're going to hit OK. And it still hasn't done anything. So we're going to start to work. We're going to draw our circle. And we're going to draw another circle. And then we're going to draw a line. Now, this is where it gets funky. Because what we can do is, if we point, we just hover the mouse over the circle line, over the actual geometry of the circle. This kind of like little yellow icon appears. And it says quadrant point. Now, as we move around the circle, that little yellow icon moves to the next quadrant. And if we point at the center of the circle, after pointing at the line of the circle, we now see it says center point. And what does this mean? It means when that little yellow glyph is highlighted, wherever you click, your line is going to start from that point. Now that means that that line is exactly in touch with the circle at that quadrant. And then we could go to center, and then we could go to the other quadrant, and then we press return, and it doesn't matter how much you zoom in, those lines touch. That is entity snapping, or if you're in AutoCAD, it's object snapping. So, what about lines? Let's draw a line, a couple of lines in. Now, I want to draw a new line from the end of here. Oh, look, we've got a square one now, and it says endpoint. So I click and drag away. We now have 3 lines that meet exactly in the right place. And we can also do it for the middle of lines. There's a midpoint, it's a triangle. We can click it, and we've got something exactly at the middle of that line. Now, I only ever work with eSnap turned on. I don't ever work with it turned off, because you always want lines to be in touch with other lines, whether endpoint, midpoint, whatever. When you use trim and extend, it automatically uses these entities to trim lines to and extend them to. So if we're drawing lines in, we want them to be at the end point or midpoint or center point or quadrant point or tangent or whatever. Let's just take another quick look at the settings. because we can put tangent, we can put parallel. There's a whole bunch of them. Experiment with them, switch them on one at a time, draw different stuff, find out what they do. Never ever turn them off. They are incredible. Okay, so that's snapping, entity snapping or object snapping. Right, this is going to be a little bit of a longer one. Didn't really want it to be, but let's create some more lines. Let's put ortho on so that they're 90 degrees to each other. Let's create a copy of that. Where was copy? It's there. Let's do a couple. Okay, so what I want to talk about now is fillets. So if we drop down the trim menu, we've got a fillet, and it says specify first entity. For a fillet you need 2 entities, so we specify that one, and then it strangely enough says specify second entity, so we click that one, and now it says specify second entity again, and as you can see it's put a little curve in the corner. But how did it know what dimension that curve was? Well, let's take a look. So we hit fillet, and it actually says mode trim radius equals 10. Okay. And then it says specify first entity, but there's a load of options again. So we can have multiple polyline radius, trim mode, or undo. So we're only going to look at radius. So press R and then return, and then it says specify radius. So I want to do 50 generic units. And then we're back to specify first entity. So specify first, specify second, press return, and we now have a much bigger radius. So let's do that again. Let's fillet, let's do R for radius, press return, and let's do 100 generic units, and then let's fillet these 2 entities. And as you can see, we're adding curves to the points, and taking away the sharp points. This is brilliant for 3D printing, because 3D printing doesn't like to have sharp points in it. It likes to have curves, or you tend to peel up off the bed from the sharp corner. Right, now I'm going to introduce you to another command. It's called undo. Everybody knows what undo is, but I'm going to point to it. It's there. So I'm just going to undo the fillets, and as you notice, it undoes all of the pan and the zooms as well. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to drop this down. We're going to look at chamfer. So again, chamfer, it says specify first line. Oh, hang on, there's options again. D is distance. So what does that do? D, distance, specify first distance, 50. Specify second distance, 50. Okay, first, second. And we've chopped the corner off at 45 degrees. But what do those distance things do? Let's have a look. So, D for distance, specify first distance, 100. Second distance, 50. Right, let's try these 2 lines. Oh, that's pretty cool, and it's now at a different angle. I wonder if it's linked to when we... Right, let's try it again then. So, chamfer, distance, first distance 100, second distance 50. But this time, instead of choosing this line first, I'm going to choose this line first, and this line second. And you can see it's moved. So the first line is the first distance. Now, that's a really good one for taking sharp corners off if you don't want to put a radius on, if you just want to have it straight. So that's fillet. Now that we've started using radiuses and fillets and chamfers, that was chamfer, not fillet, idiot. Now that we've started using dimensions on these things, we need to get a little bit more aware of the size of stuff. So let's create a rectangle which is to subset dimensions. So we'll put a line, we'll just take it up there and along there, and we'll use offset. Where was offset again? Oh, it was that one, wasn't it? Yeah. And we'll offset 100 that way. Oh, that's pretty small. And then we'll trim to there, that line. Right, so now we know that that's 100. But how do we know it's 100? That's pretty weird. We typed in 100. So what we do is we drop down dimension and do linear. And now that we're on E-snap, as we point to the line, we can lock to that end and lock to that end. And as we drag up, the dimension is really tiny. But if you zoom in on it, you can see there it states exactly 100. Not 105, not 110, it's exactly 100 because we offset those lines 100. Let's try something else. Let's do offset 30. This line down. And now let's do a linear dimension again, but this time we're going to use these 2 points. And you can see we've got exactly 30. If we made a mistake, the dimension would show us the mistake we've made. Let's say we fat fingered offset and we did 36 instead of 30, and then we offset that. It wouldn't look any different without the dimension, but if we do a linear dimension from here to here, we can see that that's 36. I'll take that one away just for now. Now there's a number of ways you can fix this. The quickest way would be just to offset that at 30 and then move that point on the dimension. As you can see, the number changes. Or, using what we've learned today, we can use stretch, and we can stretch, pick that up there, and as you can see, the line moves with it. But, oh, hang on, it hasn't moved in exact dimensions. It's moved like bizarre numbers. That's why I said the easiest way to fix this is to delete that original line, offset that to 30, and then move the dimension. And that fixes it. So, lastly, I want to cover circles, because there's a dimension for diameter. Click the circle. There you go. We magically chose 62.26 for some reason. Yeah, we didn't really want that, but we can see it. But if we draw another circle and we specify the radius to be 25, and then we put a radius dimension in, it'll show a radius of 25. There you go. Now, if we use the scale command and select everything here and scale it, well, we can lock to the center now, and we scale it 0.5, there you go, you've scaled it 0.5 and it's gone the radius from 25 to 12.5. And we can prove that by putting a diameter in, and the diameter is now 25. So that is pretty much everything you need to know to get started in 2D CAD, which is also everything you need to know to get started in 3D CAD, because you can't have 3D without 2D. So the next lesson is going to be the last 2D lesson, and it's going to be taking a drawing and replicating it in the 2D environment. So as usual, if you've got any comments, leave them in the comments and I'll answer them when I can. But that's it for now. I've been Steve. Thanks for listening.